Go live.
No, you guys probably do something, especially the ones running.
No, I'm so good. Oh, you see it. Yes.
Already done.
Casting's there. Open page.
I'll start with you, sign in, please, yes, to your left. You're gonna mind.
Do you want us to bring it?
Just me.
Yeah,
Just legibly, so then we can.
Cookie?
Legibly. All good, thank you.
Hard.
Thanks.
They're good. Dark up 351.
The beards. We can make it rain.
Oh, yeah, just make the beards.
Well, it used to be Sudo, we were painting the
No, we're not access. That one is gonna take that. It's a roll off.
I like the beard.
Who's this?
Yeah, the rains against the force.
We do.
No idea.
No, I have. It's all going all the way around.
All right, thank you, meeting.
Okay.
What? We have them like.
This one looks open, yes. You're welcome.
I thought it was almost three. Almost once.
Hey guys, why don't we get the meeting started? I have limited time as I'm actually working clinical today. I may end up having to may have to disappear here for a little while. In any case, before I forget, Tim, I vote yes for having the helicopter protocol go through in case I'm not there when you guys take a vote. Good to see everybody. And how come you guys didn't end up Ubering me some cookies?
Well, you already have one. I think. Second one.
Can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Guys?
He's actually here.
Well, eating cookies done, sorry.
He was making sure.
Miss Carol's cookie is
Tim.
done.
Carol's
That's why I said, why don't you guys Uber me some cookies out here?
At least. I didn't put that on.
Why go be for everyone?
If the open people showing up. I know, so. Yeah.
Yeah, I did.
Go ahead, Doctor, going now.
I think it's his connection.
No, great.
Yeah.
You know, a horrible connection.
There's no six.
It's weird.
He's up there. He's up there. Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's no designated alternate to Don, but I guess we could probably certainly. So it's hopefully shut up busy that's on.
Can you guys hear me a little bit better now? Can you guys hear me a little bit better?
Yes.
Turn off the video.
Myself.
Much better.
All right, so we'll keep the video off. Why don't we, can I have approval of last meeting's minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting.
Second here.
Bruce actually can't.
Okay, thank you. That sounds like Bruce.
It's me.
I'll make the motion. Somebody in this room won't second it. But let's just make sure that we're.
All right, can we have a second?
Direction.
We got one job.
Okay. Okay, guys. Well,
Dr. Doyne, just call my phone, please.
New business, the super airway, as you guys know, that protocol has gone through the state, and hopefully people will be applying for it. Does anybody have any questions about that?
Doc? Yeah.
So the super airway protocol has been accepted. Does anybody have any questions?
Go ahead and drop that and just use my phone.
I have
Okay.
questions there, Don. Can you hear me all right? We're having a tough time hearing you. Can you hear me all right?
It's not you, Bruce.
It's not you, Bruce. We've had to drop him over to my phone. He just asked, Dr. Doyne just asked if there were any questions about the supraglottic airway policy.
Okay, and I do have one. Some of you have heard my issue, some have not. The SGA policy as it was put forth in its final form does not apply to BLS first responders. It only applies to ALS first responders. I know that there has been some emails that have been sent out looking for ways around that, one of which was to an attorney that Mike sent. Have we gotten anything back in that regard? Because it seems to me an EMT is an EMT.
Did you hear that,
We have
Dr.
got-
Doyne?
We have gotten no response in terms of the.
Okay. No response.
All right. I sent a note to the EMS Bureau and I haven't gotten a response from them either.
Okay.
Anyone have an idea?
Dr. Ushko, Dr. Doyne says that will be discussed at CMAC next week.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
And there have been no other responses back from anybody that Dr. Daly's been aware of.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
I will tell you that I have received 3 portal submissions for agencies wanting to do supraglottic airway. They're all from the Arabs region, Speculator, Wells, and Andes.
Okay, well, that's good.
But we submitted also just to kind of go through the formality of it too. So
You said it in the portal?
yeah, last week.
I wonder if I'm getting Remo or just Arabs.
Right, honestly. I think.
US.
Did you get a response from the portal that you had submitted it, Alan? Did you get a response from the portal that you had submitted it? Can you forward that to me? Thank you. Anything else? Go ahead, Dr.
I don't know what everybody else knows the deals. All of these emails regarding trauma response. From my standpoint, they border on being a HIPAA problem. There's certainly enough information that's going out in a non-security email. And foiling their come up with enough information to identify them. I mean, I think response should be more, all to the specific agency rather than sending out these blanket emails. Usually there is a good reason why there's an issue that anybody's worried about. Anyone have any comments on that?
Dr. Edwards, can you hear Dr. Doyne now?
No, I
I heard something about the email coming out from AMC. So can you all hear me?
Yeah. Loud.
Yes.
That's usually not a problem. So, I did not, Dr. Donnell, I did not hear him. He was completely broken up. Then I hear there's a problem that we're sending out emails that are, is Art sending them out or we're sending them out? Who's sending them out that are like HIPAA non-compliant?
Right, their email is going out, but the emails are pretty specific. They certainly could be, the patients could very well be identified, and they're unsecured emails. I think this is the way they should be done. I think, quite frankly.
And then what's your, so what should we do? Put them on secure or I don't know. Are my quality people sending them out or you're talking about some other email?
And it's being sent out by Art Pro. We're sending it out from Albany Med.
Art. Okay. So is Art's not on the line?
It's too.
Those who are.
There really isn't so much information going out.
Yes.
Usually, the problem
Hey guys, hold on.
is discussed with the agency. But there are unsecured emails with a lot of patient information, and you could identify the patients. So I would much prefer, and I would assume all of us would prefer, if I just picked up the phone and gave a phone call and he could get all the information he needed in a much more secure way.
So it sounds like something that maybe Dr. Edwards should look at.
Yeah, I mean, as far as Art goes, so anytime if he has the ability to send secure, I'd say send secure. There's no trackability of a phone call. So, and then, yeah, if you're trying to say we're in HIPAA violation, then you can be censored in your information so that it's not even productive because you don't know what you're talking about. So there's always two ways to do this, either, and I don't know if Art has the ability to send stuff secure, but that seems reasonable. Picking up the phone call is difficult to track. So saying that the communication went out is why we always like email, but I completely support the fact that if it's HIPAA violation, but we can talk to Art about that. If he's not on it, does he have the ability to send it out secure? Is that hard?
I do have, I have the ability to send it out encrypted. All the trauma transfer stuff goes out encrypted too.
Yeah, Dr. It has the PRID, the MR number, and if it's an HE specific call number, if he has it. So it's all information that you need to QI the case. So I think as long as it's getting sent out secure, I think that should be covered. And it is being sent out secure.
Art just said he encrypted it, so it sounds like we're good.
They're not secure. I mean, how is it secure? There's enough information there that if I wanted to, I could foil a dispatch center, find out the time and the age of the patient from the information you're sending, and I would know who that patient is.
You could, but that would be if you were someone who was not supposed to be receiving that email. If it's secure, it should be secure between the recipient and the sender. If you decide to print it up and post it in the station, someone else gets it, then that's on the receiver person.
So when the plaintiff's attorney basically.
It's QI, it's protected under HIPAA.
And then what's going to happen?
It's quality improvement, it's protected under HIPAA.
Violating trial protocol. I don't think it's a good idea.
But it's QI, it's protected under HIPAA. If you want to say, Art, anything with my agencies, call me directly. But I think as far as everyone else trying to schedule and track this, it works as the email, because that way we can follow up on it. And he's got a documentation end to end that it was sent, and for their trauma verification, they have documentation that yes, this is what's happening, and this is what we're sending out.
Okay, I just still don't think it's a good idea, quite frankly, but Nobody else has a problem with it, okay? Let's like not to.
How is that, I mean, this is years. I mean, this is.
There's been a.
Okay,
Nobody else cares.
Increase in the frequency and the tone, not from the art,
There
but
is
from trauma. More kind of.
Tell them that other people.
okay, hold on a second, Dr. Dana, there's still discussion going on in the room about the last.
I think what it comes down to is sometimes with the tone, and it's not from. It's not from art, it's art forwarding it on from trauma. Sometimes it's the tone, I don't know if anybody else has gotten them in the room, that they're very accusatory, so then it opens us up. Yes, it's quality assurance, but there are usually some reasonable answers that come from it. And I think that's more the tone of the email that you get from trauma, basically, for lack of a better term, passing the buck back to the EMS. So I think that's what Don's kind of talking about, and especially since our emails are, at least for municipalities, are all foilable. So doesn't matter if it's exactly secure, there's still that possibility that they could foil those emails. We could redact them and everything else, but I think that's what he's getting at, is now if there is an issue, you've opened us up to liability on our back end, whether it's valid or not.
That is definitely, we can definitely look at the tone. I really want to say that, you know, we are very supportive of the EMS and all the hard work that you do out there. And so, and we do not know what went on. So in the absence of absolute 100% information, which you can never have because you're not there at the scene, all of our emails out to you should be very neutral in saying, please provide us more information. It seems like or appears from documentation that this occurred. Please provide us with more information. So yeah, we can definitely sharpen up. I think my QI people are on here. They were saying they wanted to be on here. You all do a great job out there, and I would say that, you know, 90% of the time you're all just trying to do the right thing, and 10% of the time the mistakes that happen are you know, understandable. So the tone, I will absolutely address, if you're like saying the tone should be like, from chart review, this appears to be that. And if we're not doing that, can you please provide us with some information concerning that? And then the only time that it should be accusatory is if you said, yeah, that was the wrong thing, I'm going to get back to them, and we're going to go, hey, did you get back to them, or did you do the education, or what happened? That's about the only time we should ever. So the initial email should always be from us. It's, you know, should be pretty like, hey, what happened here? What's going on? Now, Art, I think, has some other criteria that he might be a little more aggressive with on timeliness or whatever. That's outside of my range of what it's doing. But if you're from my PI people, quality people, we all, and I try to emphasize that, do not know what happens because we weren't there. If we're there, we can make past judgments. Otherwise, what we have to say is that the chart reflects this, or an
24-year-old neurosyncopy person. Okay.
yeah. If my PI people aren't on, I'll be sure to relay that to them. Carrie, are you on?
And also, we've been, you know, for a year or two, Dr. Edwards, I've asked people for a pre-formatted kind of exactly what you're saying through the review, blah, 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 to put it in there. We also dump it into AI at times. But yeah, you know, I'm open to whatever anybody has to say. Or a different way of doing it. But, you know, probably I can tell you 80% of them we get no response on.
So there are a bunch of different situations that are going to apply here, right? And this is the patients where there were opportunities for improved care in the field, opportunities for better identification of trauma patients who ultimately present to another hospital without the ability to tell that they were basically as sick as they were, going into it. There are a lot of different settings. Each one of those letters is going to be a little bit different. Anytime you've got AI getting involved, just needs to make sure that it's the human putting something in to AI generating a message, and then it being humanized on the other end, just to make sure that the language is as gentle as it can be for the people who are receiving it, while still getting an understanding what's going on. Doesn't have to be a long explanation in most cases. It can be something relatively brief, but there certainly is a large volume of email being generated, both by Art as well as by the trauma PI folks, that seems to be going out. As we said before, feedback to EMS is good and it's important. However, needs to be given as feedback.
I
And
don't think the numbers are as large as you think they are. I mean, I have data on how many are going out, and you can have that anytime that you want. Um,
I think it may be more relative. I think over the last year or two, they've kind of picked up as you've gotten more with trauma and stroke. So the large numbers may be because there was one a year prior to this. So that's where the large numbers.
Yeah, well, about a year or two ago, you also, as a group, the physician councils wanted to start looking at transfers from other facilities into the trauma center. So that was per your request.
Oh, yeah, no, that's fine. It's when people start talking about the large numbers. It is a small number still, but yes, we've had requests for the feedback.
So, I just want to weigh in real quick.
Can I just add one thing about the tone? I'm sorry, Dr. Hayishi, but a level 1, level 2 trauma, a STEMI, or a stroke that gets intervention and not getting a PCR for a week to 28 days, I'm not going to put it through AI.
I think there is a ton of value in feedback every time. I think across the board, whether it's a trauma transfer and whether it could have been caught or not, I think having feedback on that patient had those injuries, absolutely super valuable. I do think fine tuning the tone, and in the end, I think the goal of this is for quality improvement in the end, and so we got to figure out a happy medium between getting information out to the agencies and that feedback so that we can actually have quality improvement rather than just the quality assurance and sort of feedback part of things. I think it would be helpful maybe for some of the EMS agencies to sit down with maybe some of the trauma quality folks and sort of hash out the best way of helping to improve the system rather than just have this, back and forth, would be my suggestion.
I would agree with that. I think that's probably good. I think also it comes to like anything, like when you QI your providers and all you're giving them is negative, and we're not getting the positive, it becomes a certain tone. So if Art does a great job of feedback, hands down, 100% the best hospital at doing that. But realistically, with some of these, we're not getting as many of the, hey, you guys met the matrix, you did a really good job picking up, this was a level 1 trauma, choosing the patient to go here, do these things, you did a TXA, you did all these things. It's more usually the negative. So that also builds the narrative of a tone of negative feedback, of negative interactions, right? So it's just like when your guys get a QI flag. Most of your guys are going to say, I got a QI flag. This is BS. I'm already annoyed. There's a tone there. So if we can change that and maybe come up with a better way for two-way communication, that would work.
I think the other thing that Art brings up here that's really important for us to remember is timeliness of charting, right? Incredible key to all of what we're doing, right? It's part of the professionalism of EMS. It's making sure that documentation is done. And when we're getting these emails, right, we need to make sure that there's an answer that closes that loop for the trauma PI process, because that's got to occur for their metrics as well. So we need to make sure that loop is closed.
So anyway, as far as that goes, the important point is here, I'm not going to go, hey, we are going to usually be writing, yes, you all do a fantastic job and we're one patient, one team. And that's really important to me, not the fractionation of I am the pre-hospital, I am the hospital, I am the rehab. It's one patient who moves through a system. And that's really important to me in the communication that goes on here. But the part that goes on that I hope on the tone is that the chart seems to reflect. Two-way communication is it's your opportunity not to say we didn't do it or we did it or we failed or it took 2 times or 3 times to intubate the patient and said, it looks like there was 3 times intubated patient. Can you provide us some information on what was going on with the airway? That it should just be information gathering. And then you all as providers should be able to put on your big pants when there's a mistake made and said that was just a mistake. We are putting out information requests. That's what they are. And I would say in the information requests, there is not that many times that it is somebody goes, I messed up. And Warren knows this because it usually goes to your director and he goes and talks to the person about it. But it's not really that much that you're going to go, yeah, I messed up. And that's why I'm just saying that most times we're going to just ask for more information. And you could say it was a rainy night and I was into mud up to my knees. And we're going to go, okay. A lot of people here are familiar with the pre-hospital actions. And so I'm like going, we're not asking to say, why did that happen? We're trying to just get some information because the chart does not reveal what's the reality. And if you come back and just say, this is what happened, we're going to go, okay. And we just put it in the chart. If you come back and say, well, yeah, it was a mistake. Then we go, oh.
Yeah, yesterday morning, we actually had a case where the EMS provider didn't document it, but the patient was refusing to go to Albany Med, and would only go to the hospital if they would go to St. Peter's. Well, that was simple enough. Case closed, bye. But it wasn't in the documentation.
And that's the part that I want you all to know is that I don't have a lot of time to go, you guys are doing great, because that's happening 95% of the time, to go great, awesome, TXA, implementing new protocols, going out there, people dying out there, and you're bringing them in and we're getting them alive. That's just awesome. And we're getting blood. And there are so many awesome things that you're all doing. I don't have enough time to put that out, but I definitely am going to correct the thing to say, give us some information, and then we're going to close it because the chart looks bad and you can make it look good. And then on occasion, you're going to have to put your big boy pants on and say, yeah, I made a mistake, because I make mistakes. And guess what? I stand in front of multi-D and go, I made a mistake. That's just a mistake. But that's so infrequent that I don't think that should be hard for anybody, unless they really have a really, really weak ego, to go, hey, I made a mistake on that one. So that's what I wanted to communicate to you all, though. You are doing a fantastic job. It is not that pre-hospital is not a huge problem here. I mean, once we got blood, it's like very little problem. I mean, and so you all are doing a great job. And when we will correct the tone to say, provide us with some information, and then because the chart is whatever you put in there, that might not be reality.
Move on.
Sounds like a big window.
Okay, I think we're ready to move on, Dr. Doinel.
And I should mention, by the way, for the recording, I'm at the Bassett remote site. No Nelson showed up to the site to be on the video, but this is one that Tim set up as a remote site. Okay, let's move on then. Gildan EMS has BMP original starting on 1/20/26. That's on 1/12/26. Mohawk has a EMT Academy starting on 1/12/26. And Remo has an EMT that they have not yet announced. Do we have anything from Cobleskill?
Cobleskill, we got an EMT class starting in the end of January. We're currently going through our paramedic course currently. We're also doing a CIU on the Tuesday, the 16th of December. If you would like to attend, I'm putting the registration link in the chat of the Zoom. I'm also going to reply back all to the email that got sent out this morning, so everybody has it as well. the link if anybody's looking to attend and get CIUs.
Okay, and from Hudson Valley, you done anything?
We'll have a day EMT class starting on the 20th and an evening class starting on the 20th.
Okay. All right. Any other courses that we missed? Any items from the floor?
Dr. Dornow, I do have a question. I guess
Sure.
it's kind
Steve
of,
Meehan has a question.
I guess it's probably pointed to Cobleskill specifically. Is there a minimum amount of time, or we're having some we're seeing some challenges with some students right now, and is there a maximum amount of time that students have to be able to complete their field orientation as they're going through the paramedic course? We're seeing some students coming from another program that have a very shortened time to complete their necessary patient contacts that seem almost unattainable. And just wondering if that was something that is organizational specific, or if there's some standard that all of the programs meet.
John, did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that. Is that being direct, like, is it a question for SUNY Cobleskill students, or are you asking me how other programs are run? Because that I can't answer.
Well, just kind of generally, is there some other governing body that the programs have to kind of live by to say you will, when it comes to, say, a phase in a student's their educational component where they're going to be out in the field, you have to allot the student X number of hours to be able to complete and not have it so wavering?
So no, there's not a set standard of hours or contacts for each phase. COAMPS, the national accreditation process, does lay out certain criteria, and as long as they feel that programs are meeting that process, that criteria, those expectations, then that's the decision. So every program could say their capstone, their final phase of field clinical is 120 hours or 100 hours or 200 hours. It's really depending on the program and what they have put out in their policies and procedures.
So, John, are they time-based, competency-based, or call-based, or a combination of?
I would say they're probably a combination of both. I can speak for our program where it's 120 hours for capstone. For the and then we also expect them to do 20 patient contacts as team leads for the capstone phase. For the other two phases that we have, it's 240 hours of field time for the instructional phase where they're learning how to do stuff along with their preceptor to apply everything they've learned in lab and clinical lab and lecture, and trying to put that in hands in the back of the ambulance. And then even then, that's 120 hours, and they have to do 30 patient contacts. So it should be a combination of both, a certain number of patient contacts. And usually there's a time limit involved to make sure students are not just floundering out there for 200, 300, 400 hours to get these contacts taken care of.
Makes sense. Thank you, John.
Yeah, no problem. If you have any specific questions I can try to answer, you can just send me an email or give me a call.
I will. Thank you.
Thanks.
Questions? Floor?
Looks like none from here.
Looks like none from the Remo building.
Okay. Well, then at this point, we'll close the advisory committee meeting. Move on to the next meeting unless anybody has any reason not to visit that. Make a motion to close the meeting. The next one will be in February. Nobody wants.
Dr. Fisher made the motion to close.
Second.
We have a second.
Okay, anybody against? All right, meeting will then close. And I'm afraid I have to come off and see the people here.
Okay, I'll, if we need you when we get to the air vote, I'll give you a call. Thanks.
This is the longest advisory committee we've had in a while. Does anyone need a break before we go into the?
Oh, you're fine.
Okay, so.
You need another social.
You need a cookie though.
Like, it's rude to chew and talk at the same time.
We won't.
I'll get a second one. Here.
All right.
So can I get a motion?
Yeah.
Approve the minutes for forward meeting?
I'll make the motion.
Okay, so we have a motion. Do we have a second? There is a second to approve the minutes. Second. Okay, motion seconds. Okay, so joining us from our remote sites, we have Community Emergency Corps. Who is calling from there?
Hello, I'm the only one here.
Okay. Bassett's, emergency department's a remote site, and that would be Dr. Doydow. Speculator volunteer ambulance. Is anyone calling from there?
Yes, I am Tom Smith. I'm the only one here.
Marine Corps Rescue Squad, I think I have Dr. Weisberg and what did you say was with you? Aiden. And then we have Bristol Beach Road in Hammondsport, New York.
That's
Yes,
perfect. Hi.
And County Highway 22 in Richfield Springs. Is anybody calling from there today?
Miss Dr. Jastrzemski, I'll reach out to him right now.
Okay. So those are our designated remote sites. And I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So we definitely have a quorum today. We have 9 here plus 4 or 5 for remote sites. Okay. Correspondence, fortunately not a lot this month. Anthony DeLucia, Saginaw, Michigan. Certification revoked effective 11/19/25, civil penalty of $8,000, violations of 800.3. First time law has not been stayed or suspended. Medical director changes, North Greenbush is now Dr. Hashi. And William Mountain is Dr. Smith. Okay, we just had academic, so I think everyone was here for both. Remsco, we had these schedule changes today, and I completely missed on that, so I'm used to Monday evenings. Anybody else mention what happened at Remsco this morning?
Well, 2 items, they did have a quorum. The Remac, or correction, the Remo operating and training budgets were approved. And there were lots of discussion on the new, education and recruitment and retention initiatives from DOH. In the process of forming committees to steer both of those forward now, so. In a nutshell, that's Remsco.
CMAC and SEMSCO are next week. So Dr. Daly, if you want.
Thank you, Dr. McHugh. We had a really nice presentation from the Albany Med Stroke folks. They demonstrated to us that about 80% of strokes at Albany Med are obviously we'd like that to be higher. They actually will be bringing information back to us in February because we also don't know how much we are over triaging the indication of stroke either. So they're going to be looking at that a little bit more carefully. So that we will have a better idea of what we're really doing. That over and under triage will be key. I think that'll also pertain to some of the things that Dr. Edwards is going to talk about here shortly. We talked a little bit about end of year reporting and cares. You guys will remember this was the first region in New York State to be involved in the cardiac arrest registry. There are now 40 states that are putting data into this repository, which is fantastic. This office has been doing an amazing job of closing the loop with the hospitals and some of the agencies that are a little more challenging to work with. There will be more work going on pushing this out to the agencies to do their own reporting, because the CARES registry itself is a fantastic opportunity to review your cardiac arrest care. This is what every agency should be doing anyway as part of their quality assurance process around cardiac arrest. So it's perfect. We got into some extensive discussions about lights and sirens, when they should be used and when they should not be used. The answer to when they should be used is almost never. When they should not be used is almost always. There's some really good documentation of that. Beth will be pushing the paper from Coupas around again to everybody. Then we've got really down a rabbit hole in terms of how that is documented on our charts, and whether that's ever audited. And I don't think we agree to disagree on some of those metrics and how they will be reported. Our next meeting will be in February, talking about stroke. STEMI. Yes? STEMI in February and stroke in April. Yes.
STEMI February, stroke April, trauma June.
Yes.
Okay. Agency upgrades, Castleton ambulance, is that a G1 CPAP? EPCRs, Hampton, so we can make charts, headquarters GMS, ESO solutions. And the listly short month, Rensselaer generating LLC update and Brookfield renewable updates. So after that, I'd like to go with Kurt so we can get you moving. Dr. Edwards, do you want me to drive your slides or do you want to drive your slides?
Can I share here? Do you want me to share? If not, you can do it.
Jerry, you want to drive, you can share? There you go.
Are you sharing it? No?
Yes, we can see it.
No?
Yep, we can see it.
All right, let me. All right, here I am. I had a question about systolic blood pressure 110, and that should be the title of this. But then Dr. McGee, and I do had a question that said, hey, why don't you present what I presented at Glen Falls? I actually tapered that down a little bit because of the time that you all are on here. But I thought that it was I'm going to get a 2-for-1 out of this. We're going to talk about systolic blood pressure less than 110 in geriatric patients. Then also talk about this pre-hospital trauma triage that's going on. I do want to disclose that I actually have a huge affinity for the pre-hospital. I think that, and I said, there's not a problem. We actually are doing an excellent work. And we do look at the pre-hospital, the PCRs, which is why Art looks at them. We look at every case that we're doing, every death that occurs in the hospital. That is part of the process that we look at. You all are in the pre-hospital stage of taking care of these traumatically injured patients, are doing an excellent job. And I hope that I appreciate in some small way, due to my past military experience working with medics in the field, but also appreciate what's the current situation nationally, trying to hold on to the precious people that are doing the pre-hospital care. And so I can only say that, yes, we need to be very positive about what you're doing so that you understand how important it is. Important is that we get more people to do what you're doing. The objectives here is to understand the process. We're going to talk about systolic blood pressure less than 110. I would say that the aphorism is don't rob Peter to pay Paul. We're talking about interfacility transfers. When I talk about that, talk a little bit about the background of where that comes from, the national guidelines for field triage, the science behind the geriatric field triage, which is in the national guidelines. And then I guess in summary, which I'll put on the end, is geriatric trauma patients can be and are sick with systolic blood pressure less than 110. How sick? That's up to debate. AMC, some trauma data. I think people like to go on the data. In 2024, we took 4,500 patients. This is adult and pediatric. 48% of them transferred in. So my time and investment here with pre-hospital is significant. Almost half my patients that are coming into this trauma center are coming in by inter-hospital transfer. Okay. So that's a big deal. Just to know the big players, Glens Falls, 13%, Saratoga, 13%, Ellis, 12%. I want you to understand the median time. I don't need to use the average because there can always be outliers of waiting at those outside hospitals is 2 hours and some time. Ellis does the best. So 2 hours is what they're usually waiting before they can get transferred to us, which is kind of the process, which is why we go down this road. L1 average time, that's a patient who comes to us and is the sickest or highest activation coming on. The average time is right. All of them, of course, goal is less than 60 minutes. And all of them, this is just transfer contact time. This is that the outside hospital picking up the phone and saying, AMC, Albany, will you take this trauma patient? We say yes. The average time that those people are sitting in there, the sickest, is well over an hour. We're trying to get on that. And the median time is here, again, closer to the hour when you take out the outliers. Percentage that are less than 60 minutes before they call us, not by the time you get transfer or moving out. By the time you call us, here is the amount of patient times that we are called for the sickest patients. It's under 60 minutes of their arrival. And, you know, in January and June, it was 33% of the time. So it's something that I'm really struggling with in the region. I'm really trying to get after, probably not as big for the pre-hospital, but it has an impact on when I say don't rob Peter to pay Paul. Because I hope you can appreciate when you go to another facility in our region, it takes a while to get them out of there. And that's not best for the patients. All right. I do want to mention some EMT influencers. These people have been a big influence on me early in my career. The Charles Miramonte is out of the business now. He was my, like in medical school, was my best friend. We hung out all the time. Dr. Gestring is a big influencer on the national guidelines. He was a paramedic at one time. And Eric Epley, who I still stay in contact with, big as a trauma person, mostly because of the mentorship or relationship that he had with my mentor in San Antonio. All of these people, I see some people in the meeting that are maybe on these pictures here. Big influence on me as what we're doing in the pre-hospital. Tom, of course, here is the old field triage guidelines, started in 1976. In 2011, it's a minor update. That was for a while. And then they did some new research since 2011. They wanted to reduce time and variation making destination decisions, reduce under and over triage. We'll talk a little bit about that. They updated the process, included EMS input, 29 national organizations, a lot of responses, a lot of interdisciplinary expert panel, and systemic reviews of the literature for removing the criteria. This is what they came up with. I hope that everybody in that room is familiar with this, the red and the yellow criteria. With the red, the highest level of trauma center activation, all right? So this criteria was based on literature, science. It was not an algorithm, was better designed for the, as they say, all validate or not, the EMS, because it's a left to right. What was the injuries? When you look at the patient and then move up to the patient, the criteria should be manifest. That's how they wanted it to flow. Again, it's a left to right, up to down guideline. That's how you're supposed to get it. If they don't have any of the red criteria, then you look for the yellow criteria. What I wanted to highlight on here is that there's the injury patterns. That's the first look. But then talking about age related, age greater than or equal to 65 is systolic blood pressure less than 110. is a red criteria or a heart rate greater than systolic blood pressure. That's the shock index. That's where it came from. Why we adopted it at AMC for our leveling criteria is said that we were going to be in alignment with the red criteria was kind of the motivation, but really we shouldn't just do it because somebody else is doing it. Referencing somebody else's reference is not the way to practice medicine. But I looked into the science. And when we looked at the science, I want to say that we did that mostly because of best practices guideline that you can see down here in November 2023 said a systolic blood pressure less than 110 should result in activation. It did not say the highest level of activation, but it said activation. That was the primary motivation for us changing our criteria at AMC, even though we just changed it recently, just went live 1 December. But your national guidelines had that as the highest level. I don't know, it's been 3 or 4 years those guidelines have been out. Well, anyway, I dug in before I came up here and had a chance to talk to you, tried to dug into the literature to try to say, where's the science at on this? And since that time, a lot of people have had the same questions, like, are we going to send a lot of people who don't need to be going to a trauma center because they have systolic less than 110 and they're 65? Well, the big one, Gestrine did this first one. This was a retrospective review of the National Trauma Database over 2 years, about 1.5 million patients. And they found that, hey, geriatric patients with a systolic less than 110 did not do as well as those who had higher than 110. Not really a good pattern to see about over or under triage, but did suggest that, hey, people with 110 do worse. Other people since that time were obviously a little bit upset, trauma centers, and did some more activations, increased over triage. That was one of the guidelines that somebody did a paper. I saw a second one that did about the same. I think I might have there. Single center, about 2,000 geriatric patients, said, 110 was arbitrary, and that was. They just, the original study up there, they just picked 110 and said, that's where we're going to. They didn't do an inflection point because it's a continuum of blood pressures, right? From 90 to 110. They didn't do an inflection point where you have the lowest under triage and the lowest over triage. They didn't that. And so this single center tried to look at it and said, 110 is probably a better place because you have less over triage. The Europeans did prospectively, and they're very good at this. And they did it and said, 110 is a solid, makes a difference, more interventions, worse outcome. But they used 70 years old. So they didn't use 65 like we use in the US. Maybe they're healthier over there. But that was one of the things that they did. 3,000 geriatric patients. So it was pretty good study. And it did show people with a systolic blood pressure less than 110 not doing as well in geriatric. But again, their geriatric age was 70. Here's the yellow criteria, which are still supposed to be looked at a trauma center. Of course, this is all on the state center. And what I think that I want to say is that I put this one up here. So maybe you all are the experts. Is it 180 EMS agencies within our Northeast region? Is that right?
Oh, there's more than that.
That's right. I have 79.
287 for our agencies for our 12 counties.
Yeah,
So
for 12 counties?
Yeah, just for the 12 counties of Remo and Arams is 287 agencies. And you got a lot more counties on there than that.
Right. So that's why I put that in there. It's like, hey, I'm going to ask this because I was looking up the North region and here we are, the level 1 trauma center, and not a lot up there.
Go back a slide. I'm going to take a picture and see if I can get you a better number.
And I think you have those slides after.
Okay, and you want numbers for each color group?
No, just the number. This is the Northeast region this is actually, and if you have on here, the reason this map is really important to me, and that's why I asked you all. You see that I have Bennington and Berkshire. So we cover, and you all know this, we cover outside of New York State, and it's we're like one of the biggest transfer centers for Bennington that's coming in here. And so that's why this map is really precious to me, because this is really, when we run through it, everything that's been transferred in. And don't get me wrong, we do still have like Oswego counties. We have counties that are not on here that we do take on occasion exceptions, but the region that we have lighted up there is traditionally every year, like more than one patient has come from all of those counties. And so that's why that one's precious. I was like, do we really know how many EMS agencies we have in there? And that's why thought I would bring it up here, because this is truly what we serve. This is not an artificial New York State, Northeast region. Here it is. This is what we serve. And I'm proud to serve it. And it's not like anybody out there is, sloughing it. And it's a great region, and we get a lot of patients from those areas. And so, yeah, that's why I put it up there. Medical evacuation or inter-hospital transport. So the part that I wanted to go with the systolic blood pressure of 110 is that, and the reason I put up front on what's happening at the outside hospitals. I am not telling this fine group that say, hey, you have a systolic blood pressure at one time at 110, you better bring it to Albany Med, bring it on. What I am saying, that if you drop that patient off and you said, what, it was 105, the literature in geriatric patients is pretty complete. It's maybe not the highest level, maybe it's a yellow criteria. Again, that's still out there, maybe on there. But what I really wanted to impress on this group, and what we started off with 110, is that the absolute, like I said, the perfect inflection point? Probably not. But what I am saying is that you drop that person off, even if it's a ground level fall. And again, some people say the mechanism is really the key on if that systolic is less than 110. It takes a really long time for that hospital to move that patient to us. And so the part that I'm trying to communicate on the Rob, Peter, Pay Paul, if you're going to drive a little bit further, and I understand that this is not without detriment too, but I think that is probably the better thing to do when you're having a systolic less than 110. And in the collection of things, the natural physiology of a human being that's living to be like 70 or 80 is a renal vascular situation where they're going to have a higher blood pressure. That is a natural progression, which is why we have early on said physiologically older people are going to have a higher blood pressure. And that is why we've said, hey, we can't just use 90. And am I saying 90, the new 90 is 110? I'm not. But what I am saying is all of and I didn't put it all, that I looked at, a geriatric, an over 65 patient who has a systolic blood pressure of 110 is sicker than one that doesn't. And if you take them to an outside hospital because they look good, there's a risk they're going to be sitting there doing poorly and getting worse before they come to us. So not to kill all your time in here, the guidelines for transfer, highest level trauma center, been out there for years, nationally adopted. All the societies say this is what you should do. They say it's a red criteria less than 110. I hope, and then we adopted that because the ACS best practices, and best practices based their guidance off of that paper by Gestrin. But in looking at the total, because they said, hey, somebody has a ground level fall, 110, is that really significant? Or is it the motor vehicle crash with a systolic less than 110? There is a lot of stuff out there that you could try to tease out of it. But in them almost, and obviously people were upset with this 110, and that's why they did printed papers that said, that's crazy, it should be 100, we're over triaging people, we're sending more people home. Those papers up there, and read them, said we're sending more people home that were at the highest level of activation than we did prior to adopting the systolic 110. All did it. But in review of the papers, people who had a systolic less than 110, who were admitted to the hospital, did have were more severely injured than those people who didn't in retrospective ISS terms. So I hope that, you know, when you ask me, hey, really is systolic less than 110? I say, yeah, really. But yeah, you should consider the age, because I'm telling you an 80-year-old with less than 110, and that's why the Europeans use 70, is really a bigger deal than a 65-year-old. Now, there still might be the 80-year-old who's out there skiing and is really after it, and he gets a 105, and that's where he runs. But the normal physiology, the 90% rule, the older they get and they're having a lower systolic below 110, the more concerned you should be. The mechanism, absolutely. If they have a good mechanism, but even ground level falls were also looked at for 80-year-olds. They are significantly worse if their systolics less than 110. So is it the highest level, like the National Trauma Guidelines? Looking at the literature, I don't know that. Is everybody dying who get, like I say, a systolic less than 90, man, those people are really sick usually. But no, it is somebody who's doing worse. Do they need to come to Albany Med? That's where I say you're going to have to make that call, but I say you definitely take it into consideration. And when they get to us, you've had a couple of blood pressures less than 110, I would say that's really important for us to activate and be ready to go. I really do appreciate all the stuff at the pre-hospital. I'm really happy to be part of this and invited to this. I do really regret that you don't feel that our tone has not been right in trying to say, we don't know what happened. You do. Why don't you please tell us why? Because on the chart, it looks a little funky. That really should be the way we're communicating with y'all. And so anyway, anybody got any questions? That's it. Oh, wait, I do want to highlight this right here. Right there is some little bit of history. 1295, a poet wrote a poem, and he said, the quote was Alba, the king, Brecknock Alba, which was the king of Scotland, but that was first written documentation of Albany, which was considered to be the term for Scotland, and then went out and became the Dutch of Albany, but still a country in Scotland. 1295, I thought it was a little interesting thing that I took, that really old Albany as far as a term, but it was also used for Scotland. Anyway, what questions do you all have?
I just want you to know that I put in funky into AI and it came out with stylish, unconventional, positive slang, earthy, soulful, foul smelling, informal. So I think you got to come up with a different adjective.
Definitely. All right. Well taken, sir.
The bylaws, AI is not to be instituted during a meeting. So I'll put that out. We'll vote on it next month.
Sorry.
What about a patient who comes in and says their regular blood pressure is 105? The regular.
So we had a guy who was a skier who was like, that we just admitted. And he says, my regular pressure is down there. I'm going to say, I think that there what I hope to say on there, and that's what I put on my last slide, is that there is room. What I want to say is that a systolic blood pressure less than 90, because the American College of Surgeons, one time, regardless of what was going on, is an indication for the highest level of activation. It is painful. It is lots of times the level 1 activation that just leaves from the ED. But the issue is that is fixed. That is a marker by the American College of Surgeons. The 110, even the best practice says, should be an activation. It doesn't say must be an activation. The systolic blood pressure less than 90 must be the highest level of activation. That's written in our book. So when people try to confuse, this is mandatory, absolutely, American College of Surgeons, there's very few things, there's not very few. There's a limited number of things that they absolutely demand. What I'm saying with the systolic blood pressure less than 110. National guidelines out there should be thoughtful to say, I've got to be concerned. Doesn't need to go all the way to Albany. That's going to be where you're going to make that call on a little more information, a little more on what the patient's talking to you about, what it's saying. And the reason you're not hearing me, you're seeing me waffle and say, doctors, they never just sit on the fence and say, yeah, just take that person on there. It's because I've had people lie to me and say, oh, my blood pressure always runs low. It's always 98. And then the person's actually bleeding out. And I was just like, man, you know, yeah, you said that, but that wasn't really true. And then after I fixed their hemorrhage, their systolic was the whole time they were in the hospital, like 115. And I was just like going, so, I mean, that part is where I say the systolic blood pressure 110, I hope in saying that I looked at the literature is what you should do with it is be concerned. How concerned, I think, takes a little more of what you're doing out there and what's going on. Does that help?
Fair enough, yes.
Anything else?
No, I think one thing is remembering, but most of the docs here know, but for your services, that extra 20, 30 minutes to go past one hospital is 20, 30 minutes for you. It's like you look at the numbers, and it's 4 hours sitting in their ER waiting for someone else to pick them up to take the rest of the way. So that's what the whole point of this really is get there at the right place the first time, because you're all short staffed. No one's got an extra ambulance that's free and clear, has nothing else to do. So it takes a long time to get that rest of the way. So if it's possible to go all the way the first time, if you meet criteria, please try to do so, because better for the system, better for the patient, because that ambulance is now taking a ride is not in the area covered for your service area in the first place. Okay.
No, I think the other thing I would throw in there too is particularly when we get to the yellow criteria, right? The yellow criteria, there's a lot of judgment stuff in there, right? There are a lot of people on Eliquis who get in a minor motor vehicle crash. You know, I'm sure the answer that they all get transported to Albany Med is something that the bean counters at Albany Med would really like. It's something that when we are really, really pressed for room is something that I'm not really sure is such a good idea. Clearly, a trauma patient who is on a significant agent like that, that has a traumatic injury, it's much more problematic. But that yellow criteria is EMS judgment in terms of which hospital they go to. And it's looking at the patient, making good decisions based on the criteria there. Anticoagulation is a problem. We sign a lot of people off against, as refusals of medical attention on anticoagulation.
What's you have to say?
I mean, to that point, I mean, I'm going to be upfront with on there. I really want to see, Glens Falls or Saratoga be a level 3 trauma center. It would really change the face of what we're doing here, and I think would really alleviate a lot of the stuff. But yes, it's not happening. You got one trauma center, it's the highest level, and that's what we're kind of stuck in the region. But I agree that it makes it tougher on EMS. And if it was a level 3, I think it would make it a lot easier for your decision.
Sounds like a Dennis McKenna on the order going down is probably how that's going to happen. So if you can get that to work, I've got an ear that's happy to support you.
Can I just make a simple comment of we're assuming that all our EMS providers are the same, and they're not. Some have been in the field for 25 years or more, and they think just like we think. But I think we have to remind them that they can use online medical control. I think that is an option not often taken. You can get a brief story and then tell that person who has only been out of school for 6 months, yeah, I think that really does need to go to the trauma center. Go.
Bruce, thanks for talking about that resource. I think it's important. And clearly we are always ready to answer those phone calls. We will consult with field clinicians whenever they require it.
or wheelchair. Any comment, questions? Dr. Edwards, thank you very much.
My pleasure, honor.
So next we have the vote for LifeNet patient care guidelines. These were all put out 3 months ago now. But unfortunately, I don't think we had any appropriate forum in person. So we need to redo that vote. Does anyone need any further discussion on the LifeNet guidelines?
I think maybe if Warren could just speak to him quickly.
Yeah, I mean, they were primarily updates, some of which it's mostly changing things like allowing Sopanex to instead of albuterol in whatever the case is, or minor dose adjustments to medications. There were very few large changes. I think we did add vasopressin for as a second pressor agent if norepi was insufficient. But that was the bulk of it. I can go through them all if you want to, or if you've had a chance to peruse.
I think it's been put out for a long enough that people can do
I think
that.
that would be
You
great.
should read them all. Read it indirectly, yes. I'll volunteer you to do the reading.
Everybody can read one.
After we've all left, you can read it into the record.
I think the things that are primarily of importance right now, right, are that you guys are focusing on collaborative as your general patient care. You go beyond them with some because the resources that you are carrying, those resources are being implemented in a very reasonable, medically appropriate fashion, and you're also adding finger thoracoscopy as well.
Yes, that is the next. We have a separate vote on that, right?
That had to go through.
We can vote on whatever the hell we want to do.
Okay, yeah.
So we did.
Do it again.
I think we have to do it again, though.
So can I get a motion for the patient care?
Should we do roll call or no?
Hmm?
Should we do a roll call or no? For the card,
We already went through who's online.
okay.
We've since added Dr. Jastrzemski. He's now on.
Okay.
I don't want to get any more hangups on this, so
Okay.
just formalize it so that we.
So we'll just go around, say your name and say your vote.
First.
We still need a motion.
Motion. Second.
Motion in a second. Okay. So we'll start. We'll start online from a designated site. Not alphabetical, but community EMS. Oh, yeah, no, you can't, I'm sorry, I'm just looking at, and it looks like Don is not on anymore. So speculator,
I agree. Confirm.
okay,
That's Dr. Smith.
Yes.
and Greenport,
Yeah.
and that's Dr. Weisberg. Crystal Beach,
I vote affirmative to accept.
That's Dr. Ushkow.
Richfield Springs,
Yes.
okay,
That vote actually doesn't count unless he's got a camera.
Turn your camera on, Dr.
My
Jastrzemski.
camera is broken. I can't turn it on.
Okay.
Thanks.
Please remember to state your name when you say affirmative.
Mike Jastrzemski.
Or
And
negative.
That's it for our designated sites, so Warren,
Dr. Hayashi, affirmative.
from Q affirmative, wait, I can't believe.
Phil Fisher, affirmative.
Michael Daly, affirmative.
Bosco affirmative.
Randy Forty, affirmative.
Avianco, affirmative.
Oh, yeah, I'm affirmative.
Yeah.
Okay, so that motion passes. Next is motion for finger thoracostomy. And then discussion of gravity.
So this is a finger thoracostomy after 2 failed needle decompressions, the protocol. Then we'll go again.
Motion,
I make a motion to allow finger thoracostomies for the helicopter.
any discussion?
I think the only discussion that I would have is that I'm sorry that Dr. Edwards left already because he was actually very supportive of this. So
Okay. Oh, no, let him know we voted on it. I can't say it passed yet, but. So we'll go to, any further discussion?
What, just remind me what the approach is for that finger thoracostomy and anatomically.
So, you mean, so it's preferred as the lateral site for.
Okay, yep.
For needle decompression, and it's, I guess the motion needs to be for the patient care guidelines to include finger thoracostomy. Just want to make sure we're doing this
You're right for that.
appropriately. Yeah.
Yeah, I have a question. What will the training be?
LifeNet does, so there's individualized education, and then there's cadaver lab as well that they do at least yearly to practice these.
Thank you.
No, our training's always ongoing. Like Dr. Hayashi said, the cadaver lab at least once a year for all of our clinicians is required. There's additional, in-person and online education that we get fairly frequently throughout the year as well. And everything runs through our QA process, especially this procedure as well. So
yeah, there'll be very close eye on this, especially at first.
Sounds good. Thank you.
Any other discussion? Okay. Speculator.
Tom Smith, I agree. Confirm.
Greenport.
Weisberg, confirm, yes.
Crystal Beach. You're muted, Bruce.
I affirm.
Okay. And Richfield Springs.
Mike Jastrzemski, yes.
Okay.
Dr. Hayashi, yes.
Robert Q, yes.
Bill Fisher, yes.
Michael Bailey, yes.
Bosco approved.
Ditto. Gordy, yes.
Having a go, yes.
Okay. That passes as well. Yep. The neuro updated algorithm this was a placeholder, but I did not get further down the road. Albany is very interested in updating the protocol we have in place now. I think it's going to look like we might shift the FAST-DD score by 1 instead of greater than, be greater than or equal to, and probably some more thought on if we are too far away, we may go to the closest center because now we're including errands and further out with longer drive times. But I have yet to have, I've got Albany on board wanting to meet, but we haven't had the actual meeting to go over it yet. Okay, so that's it for new business. I don't have any scheduled old business. Do you have discussion or comments on the board?
Did you do the communities like Boston Spa RSI?
Oh, no, yes.
I believe Jason Gressing from communities on. They were gonna talk about their proposed RSI program.
Yeah. Skip right over.
Jason, are you on?
I am. Good afternoon, everybody. So for those that don't know me, I am Jason Gresson, I'm Deputy Chief of Operations for Community Emergency Corps in Boston Spa. Here today, we're going to present our RSI plan for potential approval from the committee. I have a presentation here. Hopefully I can share this with you guys as well. Is that coming up for you guys?
It worked, Jason.
Yeah.
It is up? Okay, great. So Community Emergency Corps actually has seen a significant growth in both our call volume as well as the services that we're rendering to our community and surrounding agencies. As such, we are also seeing an increased need for an advanced airway in some of those patients. A little bit about us. We're out of Boston Spa, Saratoga County, operating 2 ALS ambulances 24/7 with a additional 30 ALS ambulance during the week as needed, covering the towns of Milton, Boston, Charlton, and the village of Boston Spa. We're actually about 81 square miles with just over 24,000 residents that we're serving. As far as the RSI goes, the agency kind of looked this along with our medical director, Dr. Hayashi, and associate medical director, Dr. Ben Bailey. And looking at this, looking at the commitment that it takes, we felt this was an undertaking that we wanted to take on, given the right training to be put in place. So with that being said, like I mentioned, Dr. Hayashi, Dr. Bailey are actually overseeing that, Dr. Hayashi being our medical director. On September 22nd, just to give you an idea, we had 17 of our paramedics go through an 8-hour course, 2.5 hours of didactic learning, which covered the optimization of intubation, as well as RSI, the pharmacological aspects of that, as well as protocols, as well as cricothyrotomies, and also involved pig tracheas to actually have a psychomotor portion of that as well for our providers. Also on the 22nd, we spent an additional 5 hours of doing clinical competencies, 6 different evolutions with escalating acuity levels in a variety of spaces and stuff like that to give a more realistic approach to our training. We have another class coming up this Friday. It'll be additional 8 hours, so a total of 16 hours for our providers. Again, covering anatomy, pharmacology, RSI, with an additional 5 hours of clinical competencies being done again. So what we're looking at here is for our providers, they have to attend both the 9/22 or as well as the 12/5. We will have ongoing classes, but there will be about a 16-hour component with 10 hours of psychomotor portion to this before they're even eligible to be credentialed. And then in order to be credentialed, they will have to have successfully completed 2 RSI scenarios using our in-house RSI competency forms, have completed 4 successful intubations, as well as achieved a 90% or higher on our RSI exam, and also be at least 1 year online as a Remac paramedic, and overall approval by Dr. Hayashi and Dr. Bailey as well. Give you an idea, this is the actual form that we're using for clinical competency here to kind of go through and make sure that all the steps are hit to make this a safe procedure for all involved. As far as once our providers are credentialed, what we're looking at in order to remain credentialed is each quarter they're going to have to do 2 successful RSI scenarios utilizing that competency form I showed you. One of them, they must be the team leader administering medications. The second evolution, they must be the intubation paramedic on this. In addition to that, they're going to have to complete a semi-annual surgical airway competency and attend 2 out of 4 quarterly CQI meetings that we're going to be holding. Those that fail to do that will actually be taken offline with their privileges until such time that they meet that requirement and have satisfied to acceptability of both the agency and the medical director. In addition, for any of our intubations, whether that be RSI, cardiac arrest, whatever we are holding a self-audit form. So this is going to go into our QA/QI part. And we do this for a variety of reasons. Allows a little bit of introspective self-review from the provider standpoint to see what went right, what went wrong, where we may have some pitfalls, celebrate some successes, and so on. This is actually a form that they will do for all intubations, be reviewed by administration as well as our medical directors. So as far as QA/QI goes, it's going to be a 100% review for any RSI that's going to happen, reviewed by administration as well as the medical director and associate medical director. We all have all of our RSIs brought to the CQI meetings as well as any other high acuity cases, and those will all be reviewed retrospectively there as well. Again, this is one thing I want to really stress and make sure that is known. For an RSI to happen within Community Emergency Corps District, it's going to require 2 credentialed paramedics to agree that this is going to be what is needed in a safe environment to do so. Without having 2 credentialed paramedics, this does not happen. It has to be 2 credentialed paramedics in agreement that this is needed and safe. They also, our credentialed paramedics are going to get additional training besides their recognized regionally medications. Going to get additional training on rocuronium, succinylcholine, surgical cricothyrotomies, as well as needle crikes as well. Give a little bit of an idea here, just a couple of statistics. Our call volume, as you can see, is going up here from 2020 to 2025, and we haven't even finished the year yet. So our volumes are going up, and in some cases, and rightfully so, our acuity is going up as well. I ran some numbers here for the last year. We had 6 intubations with 6 first pass successes. So we're at 100% success rate here. So we have right now 17 paramedics that are going through the training as we speak now. 11 of those 17 have had previous RSI experience as well. Like I said, we have more paramedics that will be coming on board, and this will become a standard of care for us as we proceed forward. Give you an idea, this is what our RSI kits are looking like. We've actually had everything pre-labeled, dosing charts, everything to try and minimize any potential issue that may arise. Our checklist here that all of our providers will be using. They'll be reading through this. There'll be an EMT potentially reading this, and at each step, they're going to confirm that they have what is needed there as well, so that we have all equipment needed for a successful intubation or a backup if needed is there. Just give you in summary here, like I said, we'll have 16 hours of RSI training, 10 of which is going to be clinical competency. So we're definitely weighing heavy into the clinical aspect of this and varying acuity levels to really try and get that psychomotor portion down and that muscle memory down for everybody. The initial credentialing, like I said, is going to be 2 successful RSI scenarios, the 4 intubations, 90% or higher, as well as that 1 year online. And then the continued, as I mentioned before, the 2 successful RSI scenarios, the semi-annual surgical correct training, as well as the 2 CQI meetings that are going to be required in order to maintain that credential. So that is the plan that we're looking for. Hopefully approval from everybody here to move forward on this and help serve our community with another modality here that we can offer to our patients. But again, just want to stress the fact that it is going to be 2 paramedics that have to be credentialed, agree that this is safe and the right procedure to happen.
Very nice presentation, Jason. Just one question. Is ketamine going to be in your armamentarium or no?
I'm sorry, Doctor, say ketamine?
Yeah, are you going to carry
Yes,
that?
absolutely.
Okay, good.
Yep. We're going to have ketamine. Rocuronium is going to be our paralytic that we're going to be running on.
What crike method are you teaching?
So open surgical for adults, pediatrics. So and this is not part of the RSI thing, but just for confirm, this would be a needle crike. Typically depends on which textbook you read, but it's usually less than 8 to 12. So I usually teach 10 and below is needle crike.
Any other questions or discussion?
So one other thing that I'll say is somebody asked about how our RSI setup and kit sort of compares to some of the surrounding agencies in Saratoga County, which I don't know. I think all the different agencies in Saratoga are sort of doing their own thing, but certainly have a number of different strong agencies doing this, and doing it successfully. It would be sort of interesting if we could get some of those agencies to sit down and standardize either their equipment and or how their interoperability as well, to be able to do this, either back each other up or just help in sort of a safer and more effective way. And so, I was talking with some of the folks at community, and hopefully we can have some discussions going forwards with our sister agencies about how to integrate and again standardize. Because I think that just is better for everybody. Not that our way is necessarily the best or their way is, but same way I think.
I think it's definitely something we can bring back to the council and explore further, absolutely.
Perfect.
So. Approval on this or just a recognition of it?
No, I think we've always voted for approval of these in the past, and I think that, you know, maintains appropriate review of each one of these. I'll make a motion that we approve it.
Second, I have a question.
Okay.
Do we expect, especially for the new RSI programs, I seem to remember that we were expecting, on especially the new programs, that we get a QI report back in a year on it. I think that would be something that we should expect.
Actually, Sam, I think that goes a little bit farther. We are probably remiss in that we've taken too long.
I don't think we've had a report since we were on the new farmer.
No,
we did one a couple of years ago.
we've had a review here about 2 years ago.
Okay.
But it's time for another
It's
one.
pretty rare with the numbers.
I think we should be looking at it.
Is there determined criteria already existing?
It's not something for this office to work on. It's the programs themselves present on it. Sean, would February be okay as a date?
Yeah, I mean.
You're the guy sitting around the table who gets to help make that decision right now.
I mean, realistically, it's not that hard. I mean, we
Right.
don't do that many anymore,
Right.
so to pull the last year's cases or at least 2025s and put something together, February would be fine. For
You know,
this 2025.
2 years ago, we put out like the end of the year, can you give us some numbers? I think that's the last time we looked at it.
Yeah,
I mean, they're all being internally reviewed by each agency, so it shouldn't be difficult to just present a report once a year to us.
The structure that we did for the reports in the past have been, how many are you doing? What agents are you doing? Have you had any complications? If so, what were the learning points?
Yeah.
And I think having that pathway,
Yeah.
the rest of you could do it again.
I
So why
agree.
don't we think of maybe like every June, we get the last previous years. So you have 6 months to put out last year's numbers. And that could be a standing every June. Does that sound doable for agencies that are doing this?
can we just pull this out of image trend?
No. No, you can pull out how many times rocky uronium has been used from image trend. You can pull out how many times succinylcholine has been used from image trend. You can't pull out a comprehensive report of the RSI program of an agency, where the successes have been, where any potential opportunities have been. That can't come from a large data set like that.
I do
So-
feel like this body should set the criteria so that each report is consistent, so we can not end up with.
We'll use the same model we did last time.
Okay.
If that's right with you.
We just want to make sure that we're looking at apples and apples and apples, and not apples, oranges, and limes.
Well, and brief apples.
Yeah.
So that doesn't need to be part of the motion to approve this because this is a system. We're making a decision system-wide to expect this, so.
But I think in terms of timeliness, it was important, and I think what Dr. Hayashi was talking about is extremely important, right? We used to have, what was the signal that you?
441 or something.
41.
Right, up in Saratoga County, which really was a great collaborative program across a number of agencies, but not all of the agencies in Saratoga County. I think the program that you're starting in community is a great opportunity to bring people back together again, make sure that those best practices are being followed, that there's similar training across the board, and that everybody has interoperable equipment when possible. So I think you're pointing out some great opportunities. So.
You want it for February, you want it for June, so I can give everybody heads up.
That's like June.
June, and honestly, a lot of these are gonna be trauma, and June seems to be becoming our trauma month, so.
June.
We still need a vote.
Yeah, we still need to vote. I think we have everyone labeled and identified, so. Is anyone voting no? Okay, everyone voting yes. I can see hands.
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we have everyone here. Okay. Motion passes. Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
Now, with that said, any other discussion topics? Yes.
One, just point of information. February 4th is our next meeting, correct? It may not make a big difference for the quorum, but it is the same day as New York ASAP designated as their lobby day. So there could be some people missing from Remac if we do it on that day.
Okay.
So I don't know if you want to change the date or, I mean, the lobby day for New York ASAP is kind of set.
Yeah.
And if you go,
And it is 3 months away, so if we move a day or two or go the next week, would that be a problem anyway if we do the second Wednesday?
We
That's
move it to February 23rd and make it another day like today, everything one day.
no, February 23rd is CMAX EMSCO.
Oh, see that.
I believe CMAX EMSCO for February is later in February. Hold on, I can check.
Well, we just made the Remsco the 23rd, which is a Monday.
That's not gonna work.
Right, this morning at 11 o'clock, we made the Remsco, the February Remsco, scheduled for February 23rd.
Yeah, 23rd, 24th, 25th is CMAX EMSCO in February.
So that Remsco could be a problem.
Well, there's nothing going on Monday morning, CMAX, SEMSCO wise that
That would preclude it.
conflict with the 10 a.m. REMSCO meeting. I do not think. So I think you're safe with the REMSCO. But I don't know about a Remac.
The 11th looks good to me, but I don't know how everyone else is.
I mean, 11th doesn't hold any state meetings that I'm aware of. Or regional meetings.
So we plan on the one on for QI and unless you want to keep QI. Everyone who be not doing because of QI will probably be going to ASAP anyway, so. All right, I'll do the letter.
11th, but we'll need to make sure that AMC cardiology is aware that we're going to February 11th. We told them 4th.
Okay.
Are you still on?
Yes, I just can't find the mute button.
Okay. Would you let the appropriate people know that we've just moved the February meeting from the 4th to the 11th? I think
Okay.
you'd sent an email already.
Yep.
Thank you.
This vote should be like instinctive for everyone. All the remote meetings last couple of years. Okay, any other discussion?
Was there like on the Remsco's neck counties representatives work on Alice's new controlled substance policy for the disposal?
I'm sorry, say again?
The
Alice's controlled substance.
waste policy.
Do you want to bring that up informationally here? Might not be a bad idea. Especially there might be some agency reps that can take it home with them.
You want to start trouble.
I absolutely want to start trouble. Actually, what I want to do is I want to make sure that I want to make sure that what we are doing is optimizing our opportunities for our pre-hospital clinicians, and I want to make sure that we are keeping our EMS agencies as safe as possible from controlled substance issues. And I think this is a big one. So thanks for bringing it up, Leah. I think it's important. Dean, you seem to have the most information about it. You want to flesh out exactly what Ellis is not writing down?
So Ellis had an internal diversion more than a year ago. There's policy changes going on internally. A lot of nurses very uncomfortable signing for something being wasted in a syringe that they don't know what it is. Your point of we're just wasting the fact that whatever was in the syringe is now being wasted. We don't really know what's in the syringe. That lays on the paramedic who drew it up. That's their responsibility. However, They are unwilling to do it. Their internal documents and policies are changing in such that controls how they do controlled substances. The language is not inclusive of EMS. It doesn't exclude us particularly, but it does not include us. It does not give the flexibility for those nurses or whomever in the hospital to waste EMS controlled substances. So therefore, we are left with waste our controlled substances. The Department of Health has said it's okay for an EMT to witness the waste of a controlled substance from the syringe because it is just that. We are acknowledging we're wasting whatever is in that syringe, not attesting to what was in the syringe, just that it is being wasted. We teach check and inject or whatever we call it these days, right? And so it's the same science, right? The same education. There's this much in here and we're shooting it down the drain or wherever we're putting it. And so it works. And so everyone, the problem is that the majority of people have a policy written into their controlled substance plan that says that the waste will be done with 2 paramedics or a paramedic and a nurse or whatever, and it's very specific. And Ellis's change now violates our plan. And so now what the agencies have to do is they have to change their plan to make it so that somebody else can also waste. What we are doing is we're making the controlled substance plan more ambiguous. So it doesn't specifically say it's got to be a paramedic or a nurse or whatever. It says about witnessing the waste. And then we, separate from the controlled substance plan, have an internal policy about who's going to waste it so that as the hospitals may change what they're willing or not willing to do, it does not affect the controlled substance plan. I know that's complicated, but the plan
No,
and the policy.
you brought 2 different things together, right? So the first is the concern that we have, right? Which
Right.
is that Ellis will no longer witness a waste.
Correct.
The second is Rotterdam's solution.
I think it's
right.
The majority are solutions.
Okay.
The Schenectady County agencies solutions.
Right. So the question for this body really is there anything else that we need to do to step forward, right? So Ellis has made a unilateral decision to change process, which is problematic. We've had long discussions with them in the past, all the way up to the highest levels at Ellis to try to maintain this. And this has now come down again, in spite of the fact we've been playing whack-a-mole over there with this for about 3 years, actually. Probably going on for a while. And I mean, I see representation from Mohawk here now. You guys are doing more business over there than anybody else.
It's the same problem.
Is this something that we, as a Remac, should be taking on with Ellis, again, at the highest levels? That we should ask your management team to take on with us over there at the highest levels? Or is this something we should just allow to die on the vine? With the expectation that it may very well go across all hospitals. But I will tell you that I am not comfortable with open syringes and open vials wandering around in the backs of ambulances, because that's when we start having potential for problems.
I'm more concerned what's in the vial.
Yep.
Or in the syringe than I am an open one.
So
I think we need to have a sidebar conversation on this and include 1 or 2 people above me and have that discussion. I
Okay.
probably want to play politics.
Okay.
One other thing that I just considered with this is for transporting sedated patients out of Ellis, how this change in their current policies may affect obtaining enough analgesics to safely transport the patients to Syracuse or Almed. Well, not Almed, but longer destinations.
My suggestion would be to go back, review Article 33 for exactly what that says and does not say. Okay. Because Syracuse is not far enough away for you to start getting meds from the sending hospital, if I remember code correctly. So take a look.
Thank you.
Okay. But I think that the wasting thing, let's keep those 2 things separate. Happy to have a sidebar. We'll figure it out from there.
What is so you're concerned about empty syringes or syringes with stuff in it floating around the back of the ambulance or in a compartment. that is a legitimate concern, especially if there's a sharp or whatever. Just the fact that there's something there, labeled in a kind of wanky way, but what possible benefit could come out of us pissing in their sandbox? I don't think, because I think that the
I wouldn't consider it pissing in the sandbox. Although if we were cats, that would be appropriate, right? I would consider it instead maintaining an existing integrity within a system. Where now we're gonna have to find, each one of your agencies is gonna have to find a change and a workaround. Agencies from Albany County that go to Ellis are gonna have to find a new workaround. Montgomery and Fulton agencies are gonna have to find a new workaround. And anytime you change things, it creates the opportunity for errors. Controlled substance errors are the ways that we end up losing EMS providers. We end up losing EMS agencies in some cases. This is a big deal. It goes far beyond them just deciding, okay, we're not going to watch you push that syringe anymore. So what we should do is make sure to maintain the leadership that we need to for the integrity of the EMS system. So, all right, broader question. I certainly appreciate Ken's concerns on the big picture, and from a business perspective, let's review that, and then let's take those discussions there.
I will say, I think that when we wrote plans, our controlled substance policies, our controlled substance plans, not our internal policies, we misjudged the requirements, and our plans were flawed based on the fact that we wanted that extra bit of security in having the hospital people waste the med. I think that was an assumption that we should not have made. That's the jump
accepted practice at every hospital.
It has been, but it's not in, I agree, it's been an accepted practice, but that's just incidental, it just kind of happened. It's not in any law or rule that says it should be, or not even in any recommendation that it said it should be. The rules really just talk about waste. And so I think we set ourselves up for that flaw by making that assumption.
And realistically, if we're doing it because we're concerned about diversion, I'm more comfortable with being able to see the other crew member's signature on the form than some nurse that I've never met before, that I don't even know that exists, and there's no record that they actually were there. No offense, that's from the other side. I mean, I think if the goal is to avoid diversion, then it's better that you know whose signature that is. And if you're seeing a pattern, be able to look at that versus pushing back to get some random nurse that probably is on a 12-week contract and we're never going to see again.
And whose name you might not.
No, I can't even read. Yeah. So, right.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, I guess that's the other side from an administrative aspect. Like for me, I'd rather be able to go back to EMT Bob and say, you're signing everybody's NARC form. What is going on here? You know? It's kind of how I look at it.
It's a great perspective. It's important.
But as the years way back when, before we even had narcotics, when we got these things, that was the fail safe to, right? If you remember way back when, it was like, oh my God, you're going to open that box.
Yeah.
Right. And everybody and their brother had to know about it and be on board to be able to say, yep, that was, nope, you didn't waste 2.5, you wasted 2. Where'd the other 0.5 go? I mean, that's how minute we were in recognizing things, right?
That's when there was one key and all of the plans were written by Paul Fink.
Yes. Yeah. But again, we've grown since then. And these plans have always just been in place because of the checks and balances. It had nothing to do with that we falsely looked at the plan or anything else. It was the checks and balances. We wanted somebody other than the agency to do that, right? I do agree with the fact that, I have control over EMT Bob, much more so than I have control over
contract nurse,
whoever, right? And I have a better chain of command, and I have a better overlook of EMT Bob than I do, God knows, whoever that nurse may be. I guess The bigger question is the committee comfortable taking some of those checks and balances out of the system as a blanket statement and not have to look at what we've done in the past? I think that's the bigger
Just
question.
changing those checks.
Yeah, you're still gonna have a two-person check.
But you are, but you're not, but you don't have that third party now involved to say, yes, that's legitimate and, you know, we've done this for, I don't even want to go how many years. Right? And now we're gonna go in and have to change all of our plans, have them reapproved by the state and go through all the paperwork and documentation because one hospital doesn't want to play ball with us.
And have you brought to the attention of DOH that there are X number of agencies around here that may be submitting new plans for approval?
I have.
Or amending their plans for approval?
So I've had multiple conversations about that, and their stance is, well, that was a flawed plan. We approved it. We approved it.
I'd say 95% of the plans all say the same thing.
I agree.
Yeah.
But they say it is completely reasonable for an EMT partner to waste the medication. Now, if there's in a situation where you have a paramedic and a non-EMT, the driver, then that is going to become a problem. And that, you know, if that situation, we'll have to deal with that.
Or you have a paramedic coming back to an empty station.
Why? No.
Our policy.
That's actually nearly impossible.
No, it's
Right.
not.
So paramedic with a
Fly car.
Flag car, the BLS crew already left.
Yeah, I mean, Delaware County, fly car based paramedic that,
took the patient to the hospital.
yeah,
And
hospital.
EMT there with them. when
No,
they
they're
were
in a
there.
fly. Okay.
Well, they're in the,
But we
yeah,
don't-
we just gotta make sure we do it before the ambulance.
We don't always have an EMT there. Like, we do have quote unquote drivers. Non-credentialed.
Paramedic, you have paramedic?
We have a
Driver
paramedic.
crews?
There's times we have a paramedic in an ambulance with a
CBO.
with just an EVO.
DVO.
Stanford, another agency.
Alex? I see you online. Now you're getting called on here. From a state perspective, do you feel comfortable speaking to this or no?
So regulation does state that you can utilize an EMT from the ALS agency or the agent or an other healthcare provider is how the Part 80, 136 is worded with that.
So what if it's an AMT from another agency, because there's only one representative from the ALS agency, or the unlicensed individual other than their driver's license?
I would have to check with B&E on that part because it's very specific in the wording that says an emergency medical technician from the ALS agency.
And so now do I have to carry that product back to my agency at some point to get to another provider of my agency now to waste it?
Leaving more questions as to what's actually in it, because now it's been 12 hours.
Well, the other thing too, for everybody to remember, we just went through a revision of our policy as well. And according to Bureau of Narcotics, 3C controlled substance organizations cannot dispose of narcotics at their premise.
Distributor.
Which is.
So what we very much don't want is to end up with us getting to a position where DEA regulation takes over and we end up in a position where we have to do reverse distribution with these vials. That is an amazing amount of work. And without a doubt, is something that we would like to avoid as long as we can safely accomplish this.
I truly think that the path of least resistance here, in all honesty, is let's sit down and have a conversation with Ellis.
Yeah.
Right?
Knowing how well Ellis functions. So this is
I understand.
completely out of here, but the telemedicine approach to this. Can
That's
you
what I
get a
think.
supervisor on video,
Great thought.
watch you squirt it?
That's a great thought.
It's with your agency, or it could even be like a county agency that the county EMS director or whatever. Is that something that we can do? They're licensed.
Alex, you wanted a question for BNE? There's your question for BNE.
What was that part? It was breaking in and out a little bit.
Can you video chat, FaceTime and record if you really want to get fancy, record and put in the chart, but have another licensed individual watch you do it remotely?
I do not believe so, but I would have to confirm that.
Because that would be better having a driver. And honestly, my concern of having an EMT doing it is a lot of the EMTs are brand new and very subservient. They're going to do whatever you tell them to do. And there's some potential for diversion there.
I mean, if we're going with that, the nurses at the hospital aren't paying attention either.
Yeah.
Being somebody who's
None of this
that
is-
end too.
No,
They're like, okay, here, dump it in.
Yeah, from that perspective, we get back to where Sean was before, right? Watch trends,
Yes.
right?
So I mean, if we're gonna,
And that's gonna be the key there, but the trick for us first needs to be to maintain the integrity of the system as
Correct.
much as we possibly.
I agree.
And this may be just an oversight from their hospital, not realizing the domino effect that it's having to the community. And I think maybe if we go there and explain it to them in a rational way, if they're rational about it, we may be able to change their perspective.
Deb, if we get some of the Arams area squads that may go with a driver and a medic more frequently of what are we supposed to do? And have that as a case example for that this is a problem.
Here's one huge
Does
risk.
anybody know if it's a labor union issue as well that got brought up to administration?
It's a great question, Art.
I was gonna bring that up.
Here's a very big risk, okay? The Schenectady County agencies, controlled substance plans are very reliant on Ellis Pharmacy for our restock. Our program is not like the rest of the county's programs. You're familiar, we have a CSMU. They get swapped at the hospital. They maintain all of those documents for restocking those CSMUs.
And do a great job.
They do a fantastic job, and that is a program we do not want to miss. That is a
is
fantastic
any other
program, so they
regulatory
fall.
changes gonna affect that too?
Pardon me?
Is there any of the regulatory changes that have been coming up with
Should
controlled
not,
substances gonna change them?
it should not.
Maybe.
There's some real,
There's,
like the
there's,
hospital end is
there's another set of things that might drop that may be even more problematic, but that's,
separate.
yeah, we probably care for it.
They're not gonna change if we never ask.
I think you're safe to ask, but not to push, right? So check your stuff. Is where
With
we're at.
Schenectady and Scotia in this
Right.
community.
Yeah. And they're actually the best pharmacy to restock from. No offense to anybody in the room, but like. They'll give
They're
you almost
fantastic,
anything,
yes.
anything, anytime you go down
Do you do it right at the
Probably
hospital?
not the way you want to say it.
Immediately,
there.
in real time.
Yes, your medication doesn't need it.
Expulsion. Will they do that?
What about the idea that someone had during the Remsco? I can't remember if it was who it was about having the physicians do it and take the nurses out of the equation.
You'd be there for a half hour waiting while they're mixing up some critical drip for somebody upstairs.
No, the ER docs right there. I mean, I know there's much fewer of them than the nursing staff, but being able to just pull one aside for 2 minutes to complete this.
Ellis said they think it's primarily locums and
Here,
good luck pulling aside an ER doc.
Well, if you're getting all of the meds from the pharmacy, will they be at the?
They're
will they waste-
handing over a box.
Yeah.
But you're going to the pharmacy.
Box for box.
Can they waste that? But you are wasting.
So-
Bring them the vial that you were wasting. And
You know what,
But we don't.
you
do
said that may be a reasonable solution, but I would want to quietly test it.
And you're seeing the pharmacy tech usually. The pharmacist
Right.
is usually.
I'm not seeing pharmacists, I'm seeing pharmacist tech, but is that pharmacist, I don't know, is that reasonable to have that person waste it?
I think it would be fully.
It's not a license, doesn't sound like a licensed
The
person,
pharmacy tech.
which is
no.
what Alex was highlighting from the,
I don't know what pharmacy techs licensing or certification.
They're
do.
just
They're just unemployed.
On the job and and getting and reliably having the pharmacist do it, I don't think any pharmacy would agree.
Well, the pharmacist techs are on point about that program.
So the problem with that is that if our agency goes to Ellis, we don't get our narcotics there, but we could give narcotics on the way there, and then no one's gonna be able to do it, except for a pharmacist maybe, that doesn't restock our narcotics. That doesn't make a lot of sense.
Oh, yeah, thanks for the outside Schenectady voice to that.
We don't stock those units there.
Yeah.
Let's ask and see what we can do. Go from there.
I think it's worth a conversation.
It's worth a conversation. I mean, think of how many plans have to be changed and submitted and all the other work that has to be done. When it could have just been a simple answer.
Yeah, I think it kind of runs parallel to years ago, us having a restock of equipment and medication issue with Samaritan Hospital, and it was going to open Pandora's box for all of the other hospitals. And I fear that this is going to be the same downstream effect.
So why don't we have the group offline and a draft best approach to this, either letter or meeting?
I think we have a bunch more conversation before we get anything down on paper.
I think, honestly, in terms of changing controlled substance plans, the department has been so good at making changes to the controlled substance plans over the course of the last couple of years that that's been no big deal. This is our update. Section 5 is now going to read or EMT or paramedic done, right? I mean, that stuff is actually relatively easy. And probably everybody should do that anyway. What if all the nurses get sick? None of them can actually sign their name,
But those could take
it's reasonable. So, yeah.
Seems a little concerned.
But in terms of a good answer for everybody, let's have some more conversation.
Any other extra topics for the day? I do have to state this is the first time the sun has gone down before the meeting is over, so.
No, that is not true.
Okay.
Just for everybody's knowledge, Mohawk Ambulance is now doing high flow nasal cannula as well for some of our interfacility transport work. So that option is available.
Awesome. You got liquid oxygen on some of the trucks?
Not yet.
We're investigating that, but we're in the process of doubling up our tanks.
So anything within the local radius we're good with, but further out, maybe a little issue.
Even Westchester, depending on the liter flow and the percentage, the FiO2 is the big thing. But we are up and running.
Nice. We're doing some math on that stuff. We're moving we do COVID patients around, and it got challenging pretty quick.
That's why
It does. But
got tired of doing math
Mhm.
for every call.
The good news is, in all honesty, the percentages that we are seeing for FiO2 are in the lower ends. They're in the 35s, the 40%, which when you do the math, we can go downstate. We can
40 liters per minute. You're talking about 10 liters per minute of oxygen, and that's just like having another breathing.
She's on her cancer.
Not a problem. But even if the way our ventilators work, they have their own compressor for air. And then we just supplement room air with the oxygen that we need to get to the proper percentage. So we're not using the oxygen to actually make the volume. We're just supplementing it with the oxygen. So we can go pretty long ways on. You start getting up to the 85, 90, 100%ers, we got to talk. But and sit down with the calculator.
That's great. Thanks for adding that from a regional perspective. I've got one more thing. It's just gonna be quick. I had a conversation the other day with National Administration Who Cares. One of the things they brought up to us is this group had actually endorsed using a registry for all of our defibrillators years ago. Because the A&D data just sort of sits in a database where it's locked away and lost, basically not helpful at all. The registry that we looked at probably 5 or 6 years ago was something called the Interest Registry. It then became part of Zoll. Now Zoll actually has given it to Pulse Point, the Pulse Point Foundation, which is a 501c3. And it is now available as a near registry for defibrillators. Beth and I will do some looking at that, chatting with Tim. I think that actually will be something we will ultimately put our defibrillator information into, so that it once again becomes useful data as opposed to just being lost. So just quick update.
Any other questions, comments? And we'll see everybody in February, most likely February 11th, to make sure it's no mobile conference.
Happy holidays.
Holidays, thank you very much. Thank you very nice.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Oh, most of it, Karen.
Sorry, there you go. I guess right there. I don't know, I think. Sorry.
I was gonna issue having these all we do. Yeah, great.